City University of Hong Kong is an international university which emphasizes the integration of research and teaching. The university promotes diversified, cross-cultural studies through various educational programs. To promote our educational vision, City University of Hong Kong produced a series called Beyond Boundaries, Dialogue with Presidents of World's Leading Educational Institutions. Professor Wei Guo, President of City University of Hong Kong, talks to presidents of universities and principals of high schools around the world, exploring each other's strengths and looking forward to the future direction of educational development. Vienna, the music capital of the world. The annual New Year's concert there, dedicating the music of the Strauss family to music lovers from all over the world, has become an important ceremony for the New Year's celebration of mankind. The great masters of music in Vienna, such as Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, and Mozart, are the eternal classics. Vienna is also the capital of dreams. Sigmund Freud's classic work, The Interpretation of Dreams, and the psychoanalytic school of thought he founded have a profound and controversial influence on the study of the human psyche. Freud graduated from the University of Vienna and later became a professor at that university. This low-profile university has been associated with other great masters. Max Weber, one of the fathers of sociology, also taught at the University of Vienna. The Austrian School of Economics, which advocates economic freedom and the theory of subjective commodity value, was also originated at the University of Vienna. Its representative figure, Frederick Hayek, won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 1974. In addition to Hayek, 26 other professors and alumni of the University of Vienna have won the Nobel Prize. The University of Vienna, founded in 1365, is the second German-speaking university in the Holy Roman Empire, after the Charles University of Prague. Today, the University of Vienna is the largest university in Central Europe, with 15 faculties and 5 research centers, nearly 10,000 faculty members, and more than 90,000 registered students. This ancient university has always committed to elite cultivation, but now it is facing the challenge of providing high-standard elitist education under increasing enrollment. How will it develop under the new social context? In this episode, Professor Heinz W. Engel, rector of the University of Vienna, is invited to share his experience and vision with us. Professor Wei Guo, president of City University of Hong Kong, is well known for his research on the reliability of electronic systems and nuclear energy. In his early years, he worked at Bell Laboratories in the United States, who held the position of department head and dean of the School of Engineering in an American university, and was conferred academicians in various countries. Professor Wei Guo has served as the president of CityU for more than 10 years. His philosophy of education is summarized in the lyrics of the CityU anthem, which he wrote, "Learn and question beyond boundaries." Professor Wei Guo has also published several books about education. He is particularly concerned about the challenges facing contemporary education around the world.
各位朋友大家好，我今天跟各位介绍一个伟大的城市维也纳。维也纳曾经是奥匈帝国的首都，它是音乐之都，因为有莫扎特、贝多芬这些大家。它也被称为是梦之都，因为它有弗洛里德这样的大师。说起弗洛里德来，他就是维也纳大学的校友，也曾经在维也纳大学当过教授。We are happy to introduce the University of Vienna today, and I'm glad to carry this conversation with Rector England of University of Vienna. Good day, sir.
Good day to Hong Kong.
Yes, this is a new experience that we communicate from Hong Kong and Vienna. I just mentioned University of Vienna is a great university. I have read the history of the university a little bit, and I understand you call this a colorful history, a colorful university. It has created many Nobel Prize winners and famous scholars. It is clearly an oldest university in Europe, and certainly it's an oldest university in the whole world. And it is among the most renowned universities in the whole world. Would you share some light about why this university and how this university has been so great over the last so many years?
Well, thank you for these words about the University of Vienna. In fact, the university was founded in 1365. Let me go back a little bit in the past. Long before there were Nobel Prizes, in the 15th century, University of Vienna was great in mathematics and astronomy. There were some famous astronomers at the University of Vienna like Regiomontanus, who were very influential on Copernicus and on Johannes Kepler. Then let's go to what you mentioned, the Nobel Prizes. The first Nobel Prize at the University of Vienna was awarded in 1930 to a chemist called Hans Fischer, who who discovered chlorophyll and also a precursor of hemoglobin, which was later awarded another Nobel Prize. Then in 1933 there was a famous person whose name is now even honored with an equation, the Schrödinger equation. It was Hans Schrödinger, Nobel Prize for Physics. And after the Second World War, it took a lot of time to build up the university to its earlier status. So it took some time for new Nobel Prizes. In 1973, Friedrich von Hayek, an economist who was then already in London, but who got his first education in Vienna, and Konrad Lorenz were awarded a Nobel Prize. Konrad Lorenz is famous for actually founding the field of ethology, animal behavior. But it's not only Nobel Prizes. Currently, the European Union awards so-called ERC, European Research Council grants, and we have a substantial number of them, about 80 in the last few years. So we're trying to keep our quality, move up, both in education and also in science.
That's quite amazing. The university has somewhere around 90,000 students, and they are coming from more than 130 countries. and 60% of them are girls. And also I noticed in the late 19th century, you already admitted a female student to the university. I look at the history of your university, colorful history. To me, it sounds as a microcosm of the university in the whole world. It moves from the middle 16th century, when the Jesuit order come to Vienna and to mingle church and state, and also to put the church and state into the university, until later on you were promoting internationalization, but also in terms of integration of teaching and research. Can you shed some light about the integration of teaching and research and how you promote internationalization?
Yeah, these are
in particular, how you attract the talents, including both faculty and students, into the University of Vienna campus?
Yes, this is of course a very difficult field, both of them. Let me start with internationalization. This is a strong topic for the University of Vienna. We have international partnerships, especially within the Erasmus framework of student exchange in Europe, in the European Union, but also beyond. We have so-called strategic partner universities. There, our emphasis is actually on East Asia. We have partner universities in China, Fudan and Beijing University. We have acquired recently a strategic partnership with Kyoto University. We have recently established doctoral schools. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about that. But also in bachelor's courses, we try to bring our top scientists also in teaching beginning students, because students, especially in the beginning of their studies, they are actually forged for science. They have to get sort of the fire in themselves for their field, and that can be done best by active researchers.
With over 600 years of history, the University of Vienna is located in the historical and cultural center of Europe. Over the years, the university has actively cooperated with the United Nations and numerous international institutions to transfer university knowledge and technology to society, to promote the third mission of the university.
And one thing I find interesting, I want to get your view on this, which is that the city, the Vienna, it's among the most livable city, most beautiful city. It's very rich, and it has a lot of United Nations organizations there, such as IAEA, OPEC, and many others. Does University of Vienna work with some of them and to help them to define or, a statement of the position they should take to help the rest of the world?
Of course, we have a lot of large museums, natural history museum, art museums, and they cooperate directly with our humanities faculties, with history, with philology, and that's very fruitful for both sides. But also United Nations is important. We were just recently, I and my vice rectors, visiting the leadership of the United Nations as a whole in Vienna, which is a big branch of the United Nations, and we agreed that we will cooperate more in the future. There's a new leadership in Vienna with the United Nations, and especially next year there will be a large conference of the United Nations, where, as far as I know, also the General Secretary will come. And of course, we will try to provide also a forum at the University of Vienna. We're looking forward to this.
Well, that makes sense. I suspect that we see the fingerprint of a University of Vienna in different organizations of the United Nations. Now that really gives us the third dimension of how a great university is and should be, such as yours, in addition to research and teaching, then we have outreach to affect the rest of the society.
That's what we call sometimes third mission, in addition to teaching and research as the first two missions. And just in the last 3 years, we made a lot of effort to just collect the variety of projects that our professors have with all kinds of civil society institutions, not only with industry and economy, but also with museums, with cultural institutions, with NGOs. And some of these little efforts are not even known to the rectorate. And we have a big collection now of what has been happening in the last few years in this context. We consider this very important. And now we will bring together initiatives and strengthen this in the next few years. Because we want to be we are educating the citizens of the next few years. So our students should be involved in research, of course, get a good education, but also as far as possible, as far as the field is concerned, involved already in their studies with problems from society. So that's what we call third mission.
I think there are so many things we can learn from you. Another thing I noticed in your history, about half century ago, you start to have this more, more campus autonomy and to promote the so-called democratic system for the university to operate. And so what is, to what extent, your campus autonomy that you think you have exercised?
Yeah, this was, of course, a legal change made by the government about 20 years ago.
Which is not easy, I guess.
Before that time, university, every big question like hiring of professors were decided by the government, by the minister. Now this is completely different now. We have a quite strong autonomy. Of course, we are mainly funded by the state, so there has to be some control of what we are doing by the state, and because we get the funding. But this is done on a 3-year basis. We negotiate, and this has just been finished with the ministry, about our general plans, what we want to do, but we are quite free to spend this money. So hiring professors is now done solely by the university. I negotiate, I sign the contracts. There's no ministry above that. And that has had a great effect on the quality of Austrian universities.
I think it's very difficult for any university to be totally delinked with the government operation. Although in Hong Kong we have delinked our operation for roughly 20 years, but still, our budget is controlled by the government. So you brought up many dimensions of the issue. I believe you and I can agree that without good financial support, you can't do anything.
Of course.
So how's your financial support in University of Vienna?
Yeah, well, about 80% of our budget comes from the government. And as I said, we have just negotiated the agreement for the next 3 years. And it's quite good. I mean, in Austria, the system about 10, 15 years ago was quite underfunded. If we compare ourselves, of course, to Germany, which is our neighboring country, and to Switzerland, which has a very high standard in university funding. But I can say that in the last 6-7 years, there has been a very large budget increase. For instance, 3 years ago, we at the University of Vienna got a 17% budget increase, and in these negotiations, again, 10% more. So we have now a total funding for 3 years of about 1.8 billion euros, which sounds much, but of course now we have 10,000 employees, about 5,500 of them scientists. We have 90,000 students, so that puts this into perspective. But of course, there has been a good move forward. For instance, in the last 3 years, we have hired 80 new professors from all over the world. So that was a big step forward, and we can now sort of consolidate this growth. It was the biggest growth of the University of Vienna since the middle of the 19th century, big step forward, and we invested, of course, in fields like data science, in microbiology, molecular biology, but also in the connection between fields like social sciences and natural sciences. So I think this development will have a large and long-lasting impact on the quality both of teaching and research at the University of Vienna.
In the next episode, Professor Wei Guo, president of City University of Hong Kong, will continue the dialogue with Professor Heinz W. Engel, rector of the University of Vienna, discussing the cooperation between universities and industries to drive sustainable development and transfer university knowledge and technology into social and industrial applications.